Dear friends, good morning, good afternoon in fact. On behalf of NIA, I welcome all of you for this webinar on impact of COVID-19 on marine cargo insurance. First of all, I would like to thank Srinivasan sir for encouraging us to organize and conduct this webinar for the benefit of industry. I am happy to inform you that NIA has been organizing such webinar from May onwards on the present crisis and its impact on insurance industry. For today's webinar, we have two industry renowned speakers, R. Balasundaram sir and Mr. Sanjeev Singh sir. I thank both of them for taking out time to join this webinar. Before I proceed with speaker's introduction and today's session, I would request our director sir, Shri Srinivasan sir, to give the opening remarks for today's program. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon to every one of you. I welcome the eminent panelists, Mr. Balasundaram, Mr. Sanjeev Singh, and all the participants to the webinar. This webinar is very timely. The subject is impact of COVID on marine cargo insurance. We at NIA deem it as a privilege to hold this webinar. We have been holding a series of webinars on various subjects relating to COVID and the impact on the insurance industry. The idea is basically to take knowledge further in the field of insurance. And our webinars have always been very well attended, and glad to see that a lot of attendees are participating in the current webinar also. I'm also glad to inform all the participants that recently NIA entered into a memorandum of understanding with IUMI. This will give a lot of opportunity for us to bring a lot of knowledge on marine insurance to the Indian market. We'll be able to bring tutorial courses of IUMI at concessional rates. We would also be able to organize webinars, joint seminars, also exchange speakers and faculty members between the Indian market and IUMI. We also are planning to come out with a joint accredited program, which will be of use to the Indian market. Friends, today COVID-19 has, kind of created a huge crisis in the country, and I think never we would have imagined a situation where the economic activities will come to a standstill, and we will keep a distance from people. The virus has infected 5.3 million people globally, and already about 340,000 people are dead. What is frightening is not only the infectious nature of the virus, it has no cure, no vaccine. All the nations, including India, have adopted total or partial lockdown as the only way of dealing with the virus. There has been a kind of a freeze on the economic activities. This has caused quite a serious economic crisis. Global economy is expected to have a deep recession in the current financial year. India is also expected to show a negative growth in GDP because of the COVID as well as the consequent impact on the economy. Insurance sector is affected by the COVID, and freeze on economic activities has really created a dent on the insurance business. Marine cargo insurance is no exception to this. Complete stoppage of industrial activities, stoppage of movement of cargo within the country, outside the country, reduction in the international trade, disruption of supply chain has all caused a big shadow on the marine insurance business. We know exports and imports have come down, domestic transits have come down, no project activities are happening at this point of time. So I think the volume of marine cargo business is expected to take a hit in the first half of the current financial year. There are quite a few issues on the marine cargo side because of COVID. For example, port congestion. We see a lot of vessels, in the ports not being able to load their cargo, and cargo getting accumulated in the ports, so they're not being cleared for being carried away to the interior destinations. This increases the risk for the marine insurers. We also have the issue of transits and voyages taking much longer period than what was intended. So this increases the risk again for marine insurers. Then we have the situation of vessels being, kind of abandoned on the way, and then cargoes have to be unloaded, carried forward, a huge additional cost, and we are not very clear who will bear the cost of forwarding expenses. And then we have the issue of insureds not being able to discharge their responsibilities, act as a prudent uninsured. This is a very popular term we use because of force majeure. What the impact on the policy? Again, a question many would like to know. And finally, the issue of accumulations for insurance. If cargoes are all going to lie at the port, covered under various policies, and if a loss happens, what happens to the capacity of the insurers? Will they have to pass something on their net? And then we have the issue of claims being assessed, because people are not able to move around. If there is a loss, the surveyors be able to see the losses is again a problem faced by the market. I feel COVID is an issue. It's also brought to focus some of the structural issues facing the marine car insurance market. I think this is a good opportunity for us to look at them and probably look at solutions. I think there's clearly a need for better underwriting, better pricing. There's clearly a need for risk improvement through better engagement with customers and customer education in terms of improving the transportation method, handling and packaging. Then we have the issue of mitigating marine insurance fraud. And then finally, how do we give better service to the customers, especially claim service, especially during this period of lockdown. Customers keep saying, claims are getting delayed. So how do we remove that pressure? The portfolio is small. We all know marine is only about cargo is only about 1.5% of the total general insurance business, but it's been producing margins for the insurance. It's a very important portfolio. So it's time that all the marine underwriters put their heads to face these challenges so this portfolio can continue to progress. I wish the webinar all the success. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I agree with you. I now invite R. Balasundaram, sir, to share his perspective on the subject. Before that, a brief introduction of sir. A chartered accountant, company secretary, and a fellow of Insurance Institute of India, sir has over 35 years of varied general insurance experience across departments as diverse as accounts, underwriting, claims, general management, product or profit center head, and distribution channel head across different geographies in India. As an insurer, as an insured, and as a broker. Sir has spent 18 years with United India Insurance Company after starting off as a directorate officer, worked in various capacities including branch manager and division manager, a year in insurance department of Reliance Industry. Next 15 years, sir worked with Tata AIG, building their marine cargo portfolio as national head for marine with both top line and bottom line responsibilities, and subsequently as head of broker relations. Currently, he is executive vice president with Global Insurance Brokers, managing marine, crisis management, and reinsurance. Popularly known by Bala sir, he is actively involved in training activities within the organization and also with National Insurance Academy, College of Insurance, and different insurance companies. Passionate about marine cargo insurance, this has led to creation of his own blog, balasbroadcast.wordpress.com, where marine is the subject matter. With this brief introduction, I welcome Bala sir to give his perspective on the impact of pandemic on marine insurance and also ways to address the basic concerns of marine cargo owners in the present scenario. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Jayashree, for the kind introduction.
Sir, to unmute your mic, sir.
You're able to hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Hello.
Yes, we are able to hear you.
Yes, sir.
So when the year 2020 started, nobody would have visualized us sitting at home and doing a webinar at 4 p.m. on what this virus has done enough damage in the whole world. But that is how it is, the situation is. So COVID, as the chairman, as the director had set the tone, has caused widespread havoc across the world. You're able to hear me? You're able to hear me?
Yes,
Am
sir.
I audible? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So COVID has created enough panic. It is life-threatening. There is no vaccine or a cure to it so far. It has endangered human life big way. Is okay?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay. The question is, yes, it has disrupted supply chains across the world, leading to huge economic losses. But is it all because of the virus? The answer is no. And especially if you look at it from the marine cargo insurance standpoint, does the virus damage your cargo in transit? Again, the answer is no. So what is all the panic about? It is the steps taken to combat the virus, the lockdowns, which are actually impacting supply chains in a big way. The goods may be stuck in transit on the vessels, on the ports, on the CFS, on the roads, etc. So that is where the challenge comes. And after the lockdowns were initiated in different countries at different points in time for different durations, there has been enough discussions going on its impact on marine cargo insurance. I think most of the issues have been addressed already, like whether my goods are covered. That initially there is a sense of apprehension, a sense of panic among clients. My goods are delayed. What's going to happen? Whether they stand covered. My goods are lying at the port. There is a delay in coming in. Is there a cover available? So these sort of panic situations are there. But I think these are very early days. As of today, not many claims have been reported due to these sort of lockdown alone. There are claims coming in, but then it's very early days to start with now. So I would look at it in three ways. One, what is the current situation? And one, what it is going to be in the future. What we hope to see in the near future and in the middle term future. But before looking at the future, we need to delve a little into the immediate past as well. Okay, so now coming to the current situation. Current situation, supply chains are gone. People have their goods stuck in various places. Some vessels, some is lying in foreign port, some in the Indian ports, some are in the trucks on the roads, some are in the vessels. So goods are stuck, they are not reaching the intended destination. So huge economic losses. And the insured asked me whether the goods are covered or not under the marine cargo policy. So I think the simple aspect to be seen here is, first we need to understand where your goods are. I think that is a basic duty of an insurer, to ascertain where his goods are, then try to see whether he is responsible for those goods at that point in time based on the contractual obligations in Incoterms, and if at all he needs to seek some redressal, under which insurance policy he needs to go to, whether his own policy or the seller's policy or buyer's policy, as the case may be. Secondly, he needs to have a look at the duration clause, and also he needs to have a look at the limit per location, which is the accumulations he is bound to have. That is involuntary accumulations in the ordinary course of transit. So these are the basic things which we guide a person to, and each case is going to be different as and when they come up. There is no single window clearance type of things that every claim will be accepted, every claim will be paid, but always the insured should ensure that he is taking care of his cargo by ensuring where it is and taking minimal steps to clear it as early as possible. Okay, now go back a little. Now what's going to happen in the future? One may say that because of COVID, prices are going to rise. Insurance premiums will go up. Yes, premiums may go up, will go up, but COVID is alone not the sole reason. I think if you look back a little, even in early late 2018, early 2019, the hardening of international cargo markets have started. If you look at it, years of poor underwriting, or I would say a greed for market share or a greed for the top line, has led to bad underwriting results, disastrous underwriting results. So much so that around 13 syndicates of Lloyd's have to cut writing marine cargo business, or they were rather dictated not to do so unless they improve their performance. So we had it coming. So capacity shrunk. Secondly, war clouds over the Middle East. The threat of Iran going to war with the neighboring countries, and the war risk premiums had already gone up internationally, threat of war. Thirdly, natural calamities world over. There could be hurricanes. Hurricanes have been a feature in the US regularly. Then we have had floods all over, earthquakes impacted the premium. A fourth thing could be the increasing declarations of general average claims. More so because in any vessel today, the vessel could be pretty old and the value of cargo she carries, 2,000 containers, is much more than the value of the vessel itself. So at the smallest situation, it is the master of the vessel or the vessel owner deems it fair to declare a general average, which also has added to the woes of cargo underwriters. A fifth point could be stricter regulations in European countries and USA as regards pharma products coming in and foodstuffs coming in, where even the slightest deviation in temperature or something, and they would straight away reject the total cargo, leading to total losses, which have also contributed to mounting losses. So all with this backdrop, COVID and the lockdown and the possible claims which are going to come in are literally the last straw on the camel's back. So there is going to be changes. There will be changes coming along. Again, I would repeat, these are early days. It's too early to predict, but the way forward could be like this. As the director also said, GDPs worldwide are impacted. Economies are in shambles. And if you look at it this way, the economy is there at the top of the pyramid. Next comes the insurance industry, and within it comes the marine cargo industry. So if the economy is in bad shape, naturally it's going to hit the insurance industry. And once the industry is hit, cargo is also going to be hit. Let me give you a small example of how it is. A recent estimate given by Lloyd's says that the worldwide losses on account of COVID and the attendant lockdowns, etc., are going to be around $203 billion. Primarily, it may not be marine cargo, as I said. Marine cargo, COVID does not impact much. Much of the losses are going to come in from liabilities, trade credit, event cancellations, and the likes. Health insurance also. When you read the fine print, you will find that 203 billion is the industry loss, out of which it says 96 billion is going to come in from investment losses. 107 would be the underwriting loss, and 96 billion is going to be the investment loss. Why investment loss? Because the yield from securities has also dipped badly. Some of the bonds have become junk, and even your equity securities, you need to mark them to market and bring down their values. So the losses are going to be immense. A very, very bad practice which had been followed by many insurers worldwide is banking on the investment income and loosening the underwriting strings. And in this particular situation, I don't think that is going to help at all, because your investment return is also going to be bad. So in cargo insurance, typically, which is the exact barometer of an economy, if the economy booms, cargo insurance business booms. If the economy goes down, cargo insurance also goes down. So what can we expect immediately in the post-lockdown lifting scenario? Turnovers of all companies will go down. As a result, cargo movements would be less. So there could be a lot of premium reductions in forms of refunds and in terms of turnovers not getting achieved. Even for a moment, assuming that the loss ratios remain where they are, as per the year gone by, the losses remain where they are. Your loss ratios would tend to go bad because of the reduction in the denominator. So situation is not good for marine cargo underwriters, and the return which is coming in from investment also takes a hit. So what does a marine cargo underwriter do? In an ideal situation, he would like to do two things. One, increase the price, increase the premium, that is, and number two, reduce exposure or reduce coverage. Okay, now again, both the things are fraught with dangers. Premium cannot be increased beyond a particular point. A customer, if you increase your premium by 200 times, a customer is going to say, I'll act myself as an insured, I'll be self-insured, I don't want it. Atmanirbhar I will be. So that's the sort of thing he would say. So it's not going to work. Reduction in coverage. Yes, you can reduce coverage, but ultimately you are in a service industry. We need to know what the customer wants, and we need to give him what he wants as well. So it's a paradox. And what is the customer expectation after this COVID? He feels, boss, I don't want to get into this policy wording chakkar and all that, duration clause, limit per location, all this, you forget it. Give me a cover that if I take an all risk policy, if my goods from point A to point B does not reach safely, you will pay me the claim. That is a client's ask. Very fair. He doesn't want any exclusions. And some exclusions are very difficult to explain as well. Like if I say delay is an exclusion, if delay causes an exclusion, he asks me why. So the problem is people, the underwriters, the reinsurers, they react in a different manner. Lloyd's went overboard, I would say. They went overboard and quickly came out with two clauses, LMA 5391 and 5395, saying that they're excluding pandemics in all future covers. They said they will not exclude it. It is available to insurers to make use of it. But again, I would think it's a retrograde step, because 5391 absolutely excludes anything related to a pandemic directly or indirectly. So anything and everything could be attributed to a pandemic, and it will be on the insured to prove that it is not directly causing it. So very, very dangerous from an insured standpoint. 5395, slightly narrower in version, but again, it is restrictive. I really thank the Indian insurance industry. I think they have taken a call so far not to adopt either of these classes, which is very interesting. Fine. Increased prices will come, that is fine. What does the insured want? As I said, he wants wider coverage. He wants a policy which will not have this restriction in terms of 60 days, 30 days, 7 days. So is there a via media which can be found? Definitely yes. I would urge insurers to look at ways and means where they can have a vanilla product and they can have a superior product which are carved back for these exclusions and price it much higher. So the customer has a choice. If he really wishes to go for that, he would go in, or he would go in for a basic product. Again, if you look at it, a customer wants that. Why should there be a restriction of 7 days after reaching the destination town? Today, I am in a difficult position. I am unable to explain it to a customer. What is the sanctity of 7 days? Why should the cover cease after 7 days? It should cease after unloading, as the policy says. As long as it is outside the insured's control and in the ordinary course of transit, cover should continue. Okay. After discharge from an overseas vessel, the cargo should reach the final destination within 60 days, is what the policy says, ICC. Fair point, because the inland transit was supposed to be incidental to the overseas transit, fine. But again, the way business is done has changed. The insured actually takes possession of the cargo much later. He does not have a direct port delivery in many cases. The cargo has to move from the port to the CFS from where he takes delivery. So why insist on a 60 days or a 30 days in case of air cargo? So my point is, the simple point is, it's time we had a relook at the institute clauses in terms of suitability in the current scenario. And as far as the inland transit clauses are done, they are done locally in India. So I'm pretty sure that we can have a look at it and see how best we can address both the insured's concern as well as ensuring that the insurer gets a reasonable premium, because ultimately if the insurer does not have premium to pay claims, it's not going to work. Another point which can come up is the way the markets, the way the world is moving against China, saying that they triggered the virus or they did not intimate everybody in time and things like that. We may face a situation of trade sanctions against China, which is going to create another set of problem for the marine cargo underwriters. So I would say that the situation as far as COVID is concerned, the current situation about which we are all panicking is too small. There are macro issues, much wider issues which are going to come about which we should be aware and ready to face it. I think that's what I wanted to make in my immediate remarks, and now over to you, Jayshree.
Thank you, sir. I'm sure most of the concerns of the customers and insurers are covered by you. We'll definitely have the question answer session immediately after Sanjay sir's brief. Now I'll take the pleasure of introducing Mr. Sanjay Singh, our next speaker for the evening. Sir possesses all-round experience of 34 years in general insurance industry. Sanjeev sir joined New India Assurance in 1984 as an administrative officer and rose to the rank of Deputy General Manager at the time of his retirement in June 2018. He was heading Marine Insurance Department at the time of his retirement. He is very closely associated with IUMI and is currently a member of Education Forum and Facts and Figures Committee at IUMI. Sir has spoken at various fora on technical topics such as FAIR, IUMI Asia Forum, and has been involved as a technical expert in Commerce Ministry INSTC project. Recently, Sir has also been nominated as Director of Maritime Protection and Indemnity Association of India. Presently, Sir is working with GI Council Mumbai as Technical Advisor, Marine Cargo, Hull and Energy, Aviation and Specialty Lines. Over to you, Sir. Thank you very much for joining us today. I also request you to share your perspective on some of the issues due to accumulation of risk at port and warehouses, and also views on impact of insurance in international market.
Thank you, Jayshree. Good afternoon to all the viewers. First, a point about the pandemic, which has created all the situation. It's a very unprecedented situation where over 70% of the world is under lockdown. So COVID is not only a peril for insurance industry, it's also a situation which increases the risk of loss due to operation of covered perils. No country or company has capacity to bear such losses. Insurers normally don't cover pandemic. They consider it as accumulation of risk. It is a kind of super accumulation, a hazard that could trigger massive losses within a relatively short time and stretch insurers beyond their limits. It's a little different from the usual NatCat accumulations confined to a limited area. Imagine all the companies in the world making claims at the same time due to a common peril. Imagine law of numbers as we practice in insurance going for a toss. Imagine most of the insured lodging claim because COVID is a covered peril. So you can see that COVID is already a covered peril in health policies, events cancellation, travel policies, all these things cover this kind of situation. Even trade credit or the employer liability will cover such situation. The exposure to marine, however, will be very much indirect. Since the loss has to be physical and COVID, as Mr. Balasundaram very rightly pointed out, COVID cannot cause a direct physical loss and hence outside the scope of the policy. However, there are some gray areas in an all risk policies or with some special wordings about forwarding charges. There can be some kind of compensation in individual cases, strictly based on the question of facts. When people say my policy covers COVID or not, it's very disappointing to tell them that marine policy does not cover losses due to pandemics. The very reason being the scale of such losses if we take COVID as a direct or indirect peril covered under marine policy. We also remember some of the associations moving the ministry to ask for a waiver from the insurance companies and asking that the duration clause should be synchronized with the lockdown period so that there is no need of individual extension in their policies. It was advised, it was discussed, and it was advised that marine policies are absolutely legal contracts like any insurance contract, but they are based on mostly international clauses, conventions, and the laws. There is an underlying reinsurance contract, and therefore there cannot be a blanket waiver of duration clause. So, but industry will be quite flexible, going by case to case, and they will be possible to find a solution to individual genuine difficulties. For that reason, General Insurance Council did not issue a particular advisory on marine or property, although for personal lines and SMEs guidelines were quickly issued. Coming to impact of COVID on marine cargo insurance, there is still a lot of unknowns. A few trends are, however, emerging very clearly. The global trade is set to plunge by double digits, whereas till last year it was growing by 2 to 3%. This will affect marine insurance adversely as the volumes will go down. Some of the areas will suffer reduction in trade up to 30%, and most of them will be around 10 to 13%. Due to this, like in other areas, the digitalization will be the main trend emerging in marine insurance. A lot of traditional documentation of title like bill of lading, other shipping documents, custom procedures, freight forwarders will take to digitalization, which of course was happening earlier, but at a slower speed. Now it will be at a faster pace. There is one very common concern in the marine cargo insurer's mind, which is a compromised safety and risk management, because during the lockdown, a lot of labor and equipments are not available, and it's going to be really a problem how to manage it. But I have seen some of the areas that, like in Project Cargo, the warranty survey is being managed by London market by use of remote survey using the drones, and they're also taking a 20 days, minimum 20 days or 30 days possible time to arrange for such survey. They want advance notice of at least 20 days time going by the restrictions of the lockdown. So these are the solutions being offered in the market. Another trend which will be emerging will be demand for the customized product for covering pandemics. Of course, at what cost it will come, nobody knows. So most of the issues, however, in the cargo will be around the duration extension, the termination of transit, forwarding charges or special clauses to cover non-physical risk. One thing we must remember, there is an argument always that goods are in ordinary course of transit if they are beyond the control of the insured, and therefore the cover is operative. We must remember this is not a very ordinary situation. This is a very extraordinary situation. And in this extraordinary situation, which is a global situation, there cannot be simply an ordinary course of transit everywhere. There has to be a distinction between what is ordinary course of transit when the transit gets terminated and when the risk is off. So unless you take a special endorsement or some kind of permission from the insurer, there could be a problem of dispute in this. So as far as the beyond the control of the insured is concerned, the insured is hardly in control of his cargo from the time he leaves his cargo for dispatch. So, I mean, he can only monitor, but not actually handle the cargo. So it is mostly beyond his control, but the extraordinary situation which has emerged will not keep every transit as ordinary course of transit and keep the cover on. So it is better to check with your insurer and see that covers Now, to most area in this affected by the COVID will be also concerning the not only the risk management but also the actual activation at ports. All seminar cargo, I can say everywhere which are probably not the the transit is a very huge in the ship, in the yards, in the risk, and free port not moving and speedily. As concerned, I think all not know at what speed and what efficiency is moving. So we need to keep this in mind, and time the time is insured does not suffer with as long as the insurer is willing to be flexible problems, and at the same time he should be very clear what is and what is not covered. There
Sanjeev
is
sir,
no
Sanjeev sir, 1 second. I think there is some connectivity problem from your side. We are not able to hear your voice very clearly, and your camera is totally off. I mean, you're not going live. So we will. I'll just give a break and I'll start the question answer session with Bala sir. So then I'll come back to you, sir. So in the meantime, try to reconnect so that you can become live again, sir, because your voice is also not very clear. Yeah. So Bala sir, because Sanjeev sir, we're not able to hear his voice and even video was not there. So yeah. I think we will start with the question answer session. So you already started getting questions there. So okay. Sir, we see that even though there is no damage to the cargo due to coronavirus, but yes, there's a delay which has caused a lot of losses. Okay. So I request you to please tell us what is your advice for the policy holders if the completion of the insured voyage transit is significantly delayed. And of course, this is because of pandemic and subsequent lockdown.
See, first thing is the word significant itself is subjective. Okay. We don't know what is significant. It could mean 10 days, 15 days, 30 days, 40 days, whatever. And secondly, if there is no physical loss or damage to the cargo, any loss occurring due to the delay is a consequential loss to you. The insured has the sympathies of the insurer that his supply chain is disrupted, his production is affected, but there cannot be any claim in the absence of any physical loss or damage to the cargo as on date unless we come out with a new product.
Sir, going back to storage risk, sir, I can see a question coming up from the audience.
Okay.
On the concerns of stranded cargo, you already mentioned that, as you know, that crude oil transported in vessel is lying in the sea for a longer period due to lockdown. It's not allowed to enter the ports. There is a shortage risk and also a product degradation risk. Whether such risk can be covered under marine cargo policy?
Okay. Coming to crude oil, there are two different ways why the cargo is delayed. First is, yes, there is a shortage of storage space in the destination ports and the vessel is still biding its time to enter the port, or there is a port congestion, whatever, where the transit continues. It's an ordinary course of transit. But the latest which we hear is that due to shortage of storage tanks at the refineries end, crude carriers are being hired and used as storage tanks, which the vessels are used merely as storage tanks, in which case my sense is the ICC clauses would not apply at all because it's being used as a storage. And during storage, any intentional storage, I think the storage needs a bit of an elaboration. Whenever a cargo is in transit, it does not keep moving all the time. It moves for some time, then it is at rest for some time, maybe it is offloaded someplace, goes elsewhere, it's like that. But it is held covered because it is outside insured's control and insured still holds a bill of lading. It is the desire of the transporter who moves it around. But if the insured instructs the transporter to have it stored at a particular place, in fact, it could be at a particular place or in the vessel itself or in the truck itself, then it is deemed as an intentional storage and the cover terminates at that point in time. In fact, I had written about this risk also. Crude oil, if you are using it essentially as a storage, the problem is the cover goes off immediately in terms of duration clause. There is no cover. Even for a moment you assume that there is a cover, it is ended. Terrorism cover will not apply in terms of termination of transit clause terrorism. So the question is, if you are using it as an intentional storage, the cover is not there. The second question asked is whether there is any contamination risk can be covered. Yes, contamination can be covered. But when you look at crude oil, there cannot be any contamination. It is going to be refined any which ways. Unless we are talking about a petroleum product or some product like some LNG or whatever. So contamination risks can be covered.
Okay, sir, just now you mentioned about storage. Storage has been an integral part of marine policy, sir. And customers are not very clear about the same, and still there is a confusion about intentional storage and unintentional storage. So
Yes.
I request you to please clarify what is the difference between these two types of storages.
Okay. As I said in my earlier answer also, a goods when it moves from point A to point B does not keep moving all the time. To cite an example, if a cargo is moving from say Mumbai to Buenos Aires in Argentina, the same vessel does not carry it there. Obviously, this vessel takes it to some other port, say Dubai or Rotterdam. There is a transshipment happening. The goods are unloaded at that port. They lie there for some time before the next vessel picks it up and takes it to the final destination. So there is a transit, there is a portion when it is lying static, it is not moving, and then again it moves. And then again it reaches the destination port, it lies there for some time before it gets cleared. So here what happens is these are not called storages in the strictest sense. The goods are static, they are not moving. This is totally outside the insured's control. Insured does not direct the ship owner or the charterer that you should transship it here, you should offload it here, reload it. No. So even if the goods are lying at the port and they get damaged due to a fire or an earthquake or whatever, it is held covered under an ICC policy because it is not an intentional storage. The insured has not instructed the carrier to store it there. Again, let us say the same goods moving from Mumbai to Buenos Aires, after it reaches Rotterdam, the insured has a change of mind and he instructs the carrier, no, I don't want it to send it to Buenos Aires, just drop the material there. I will decide where to send it next. Then the cover goes off there and this becomes an intentional storage.
Right.
In India, what was happening is, typically no marine policy would cover an intentional storage unless it is explained clearly and agreed to by the underwriter. In India, since storage exposures were going very, very high, people were just giving mindless storage limits. GIC came out with a circular saying that no intentional storage can be covered under marine policy, which, yes, perhaps the intention was good, but it has hit certain areas where there is a genuine requirement for an intentional storage. Especially in cases like most Indian exporters, especially in the automobile ancillary space, etc., they export goods on just-in-time basis. Just-in-time in the sense that they would take the material from here, store it in a warehouse there, and as and when the order comes to the customer, they deliver it.
It's not doing.
Okay.
So this intentional storage total elimination creates a problem.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I think Sanjeev Singh sir has joined us.
Yeah.
Sir, you're able to hear us, sir? Sanjeev Singh, sir?
I can hear you, not see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So my next question, Bala sir, thank you very much. But my next question is to our director, Sri Srinivasan sir. Sir, we are not been able to do justice with marine cargo recovery claims, sir. Okay, so if you don't talk about recovery, so as we all know, recovery from railroad carriers has lost its importance. It is very difficult. It was very difficult to effect recovery, and due to lockdown, even more difficult to follow the procedure by the customers. So my question to you, sir, is: can this be waived in the current situation? Question one. B. What can be done to improve recovery from transporters? Otherwise, also this application, sir.
Your question is to me, Sanjeev?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So recovery from rail and road carrier, as you rightly said, has lost its importance, and it was already very difficult to effect recovery. And with the 2007 the Act, again the recovery amount could be very limited. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Achha. Okay. So due to lockdown, it is said even more difficult to follow the procedures. But in my opinion, the email, which is now acceptable as a valid way of lodging claim, email is good enough to intimate and lodge the claim to carrier within 6 months' time. And thereafter, whatever documents are to be collected and they can be used for recovery will be organized. So waiving the recovery in the situation, I don't think anybody will do that, even if there is a very minimum amount available recovery. But still, recovery can be managed during the lockdown period. There is no physical effort involved to effect recovery except communication. So I'm sure it can be still done, provided there is a negligence of the transporter. And I'm sure it will be done, and not many companies will be ready to waive the recovery unless they have more premium or higher deductible in the claims. Does it answer your question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. My next question to you as well. See, warranties are important in marine cargo, sir. So, how loading, unloading, and other common warranties can be or will be observed during this lockdown period, as there is a shortage of workforce, equipments. Whether the insurance companies are planning to waive these warranties?
I will tell you, the most stringent warranty is in case of project cargoes, which involve heavy machinery and equipments. So the London market has come out with an amendment to their JC20 clause, and they have said instead of 7 days notice for arranging warranty survey, please give us at least 20 days notice. And apart from that, arrange for a videography, and that should be considered sufficient if the photos taken and the instructions are followed as per the underwriters and risk managers guidelines. So some way is being found out through remote survey in case of even the highest risk management requirement. So I don't see any problem for loading, unloading, or any other warranty survey if it is possible to do it by drone, by camera, videography, or by any other means. So when such a situation is not possible, then it is left to underwriter's discretion, who will decide based on his underwriting or risk management procedure, or also with the reinsurer's permission, whether to waive it or not. If it is not reinsurance permission not required, then probably they can take a decision to waive it in genuine situations. So, but the risk management and warranties can be complied even during this time, although it will be a little difficult.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah, good. So my next question is to Bala, sir. Bala, sir, got a question from the audience. This is that underwriters are struggling from a long period to find out the solution to identify their accumulation exposure. That is in a scenario where there will not be any restriction of duration within which a risk comes to an end, that is 60 days or 30 days. So how insurers would cope up with such losses caused by catastrophic events, if we consider this as a catastrophic?
Okay. Yes, accumulation has always been a problem. It continues to be a problem despite the best of techniques. In fact, this question should have been addressed to Sanjeev Singh since we discussed this. Anyway, I will try to answer this. Accumulation has and continues to be a problem because at any point in time, you are not able to have a real-time tracking of the cargo, where it is. So if you know a particular location, like what happened in the Tianjin port in China when there was an explosion, there were huge losses and nobody had a clue about how much is the exposure. One simple way would be to have an online system of certificate issuance, which will at least tell you if a vessel goes down under or if a vessel gets stranded, how much of cargo is there on the vessel for a particular underwriter. It can be found. In fact, in AIG, we used to have that system where if a certificate is issued, including the vessel's name, there can be a report pulled out in case of an accident, which tells you how much is your total accumulation across the world on that vessel. But at a particular place, at a port or at a CFS location, I'm afraid the problem still persists and people are trying to work out different models, but then I don't think there is a solution found as of it. Whatever would happen would be a reasonable guesstimate only, and you will not have an accurate number attached to it. Probably Sanjay would like to add something on this.
Yes,
Yes,
sir. Sanjeev, sir.
one of the traditional methods of working out accumulation was by having a kind of communication with the customs department or port authorities to whatever cargo comes in, and also taking out an average of the market, and accordingly every company should be in a position to work out their accumulation. So this was a very kind of primitive rule of thumb which was being discussed. But I think Swiss Re and some other companies have come out with a modeling where they are in a position to predict this is the accumulation of cargo in a particular port or from a particular logistics provider. And all these things are still in the development. But no sure shot method has been still worked out to find out how much accumulation is there in each and every port or CFS or any other go down. So I think it will still take some time to get the scientific modeling to work out the accumulation.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So Sanjeev, sir, my next question to you only.
Yeah.
This may not occur, but again, is it possible that tomorrow government can force all the insurance company to pay the COVID claims? Then again, certainly like to have your views if it happens. What will be the rationale behind paying these claims by the insurance company? Will it be like staring at an insurance nightmare?
I think this was this triggered from one of the American states telling their insurance companies to pay the business interruption losses due to COVID and have a kind of retroactive cover. So I think this is going to have a very serious solvency issues for the companies, and they have probably gone to court. I'm not sure what is the latest development, but this is not going to work out. And if government is so keen to means compensate people, they have to have their own funds to do that. I mean, insurance companies will be always guided by certain financial norms, their solvency margins, and they will never like to just follow the dictate without having the consequences of extinction. So I don't think this is going to work out. And I'm sure in Indian market also, the government asked us to just forwarded to us the waiver request. And when we said no, government did not insist that we should waive it. So government will understand and realize that pandemic is not a insurable risk, and no insurance company can be forced to change their rules for this. If something has to be done, it has to be done by the government directly. Yes. Is it okay? Hello.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your reply, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
My next question is to Srinivasan, sir. Sir, recently AM Best conducted stress test on the insurance company, which indicated that the insurance company's capitalization level is sufficient to withstand the impact of pandemic. So what is your opinion on that, sir?
So it's basically a good news to all the customers. The fact is that the capitalization level of all insurers is reasonably good. And even if the quantum of losses is going to be high because of COVID, the insurance industry will be able to withstand those losses, and there'll be no solvency issue as far as the customers are concerned. So this is basically a global scenario. If you come to the Indian market, the situation I would say is much better. Well, as you know, Indian insurance companies are well regulated. The solvency situation is very closely monitored by the regulator. And in the Indian context of all these sectors in the Indian economy, the insurance sector is expected to, perform much better. So I don't really see a problem as far as the solvency of Indian insurance industry is concerned. And I think all the stakeholders should be very happy about this scenario.
Thank you, sir. My next question is to Bala, sir. Yeah, Bala, sir. So this question is from audience, sir. Sir, with improvement in quality of risk, packaging of cargo, transit conditions in India, can we expect a price improvement under marine cargo insurance in the market?
Price improvement from whose perspective? Insurer's perspective or client's perspective?
Of course, customer's perspective, sir.
Customers have already enjoyed a soft market for long. I don't think the prices are ever going to come down in the near future. For example, that's why I told you, COVID is that one of the last straw on the camel's back. The situation has already been, your packaging has improved, your losses may have come down, your infrastructure is improved, handling equipments have improved, everything is fine. But overall, when you look at the global scenario, losses have gone up. So it's not on a case-to-case basis. Many large Indian risks, cargo risks, which necessitate reinsurance support, are not able to find support at the Indian terms. That is the reality. Many large risks I know personally are being written to the net by many Indian underwriters. So prices are not going to fall in a hurry in the international market. Having said that, the Indian context is slightly different. Here what's happening is, because of the huge increase, the steep increase in property premium rates, many clients have put up the plea that their entire portfolio should be looked at as one and the pricing done in other areas where there is no restriction on price. So naturally, lines like marine, group mediclaim, liability, etc. take a hit. So they are not able to come anywhere near the technical pricing required for sustenance in India. So if you are expecting a still softer market, I don't think it is going to happen in the near future.
Yes, sir. So one more question coming up, sir. Somebody wants to know what precaution can we take as an underwriter in the present situation for all risk cover. Bala, sir, this is for you.
No, this question is to be split slightly, and I am not representing any underwriters today, but still I would like to see, because an underwriter, a broker or a client, everybody has a common interest towards protection of the cargo. Okay, now the question is, he's asking what steps should I take to, while giving an all risk cover, what precautions I should take. You are talking immediately after the lockdown is lifted for fresh policies or in the current situation? Current situation, I'm afraid you cannot alter the policy conditions. Going forward, as I see it, possibly you need to, all the cargo, I don't see anything specific to be done, except for the fact that perhaps you can put in certain conditions for the domestic transit immediately after the lockdown is lifted, because that is where, when I think there could be some sort of unrest, especially given the migrants and certain classes of goods, especially if they are edibles, something which are easy to encash, you may encounter greater thefts, which is something I foresee. Otherwise, the risks are quite common. So possibly GPS tracking can be extended to more trucks. which I think very few people are doing at this stage. And again, the question which you come back, that is on the recovery, which you had asked Mr. Srinivasan, and it remained incomplete.
Yes, sir. Yes.
And Sanjeev answered saying that recoveries are given the go by now. True. But unless you stress on recovery, I think the transporters are getting away scot-free. Now the point is that every transporter has a limited liability as per the motor vehicles rules formed in 2007, so that it is only 10 times the freight or whatever. So that is one point. There is another breed of transporters, the couriers, the big couriers, who enter into an agreement with the cargo owner before lifting the cargo, saying that you waive recovery against me. My liability is going to be only 5,000 rupees or no liability. And people sign these agreements before handing over the cargo to them because these are the top-notch carriers. So this is a problem which insurers face, and which I think every insurer should bear in mind, and possibly can put in a condition saying that if such is an agreement existing, then any loss assessed, I would be settling only a percentage of that, 90%, whatever. Because my recovery gets impacted by a contract. It is not impacted because the insurer doesn't pursue, but because of a contract, the insured is waiving the recovery.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Agree, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, now my next question is for Sanjeev, sir. Sanjeev, sir, are you there? Are you
Yes,
there?
yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
sir,
yeah.
this is on project BI cover, sir.
Okay.
Another aspect which we cannot ignore in marine policy is cargo and DSU cover issued for project insurances. Okay, my first
Yeah.
question is, we are already in phase 4 of lockdown, and according to you, how will the lockdown affect the DSU cover for project insurance? And the next question is, how will the risk management warranties be managed? And the last question is, how will the operational marine BI cover respond in the lockdown period after occurrence of a transit loss?
Okay. So first, project cargo and DSU.
Yes, sir.
So project cargo and DSU, and the very first thing, risk management. I had told you that London Markets has amended their JC20 cargo wording, and they
Yes.
have now come up with a relaxation in warranty survey by asking 20 days time and doing a videography as per the instructions of the risk manager. So that is one big development towards remote survey for critical project cargo, which was earlier considered to be most stringent warranty survey. Coming to this thing, the business interruption period due to lockdown, I'm sure nobody had worked out any kind of this situation where 70% of the world will be locked down because of this, and that will also trigger a business interruption. So as you know, in material damage, in the section 1 is the primary condition for loss being paid under business interruption project cargo. So once loss has taken place, and thereafter your not only your project site is closed, the manufacturer's site is also closed, and therefore you can see that this is a situation probably not visualized in this kind of risk coverage. So if at all the business interruption period will be calculated, it will be the pure period of remanufacturing, transit time, installation, when the situation was normal. So, but I leave it to the persons who underwrite these policies. I don't think there will be a blanket calculation of including lockdown period to compensate client because of this loss. So there will be some kind of recalculation, and not the complete lockdown period will be part of business interruption indemnity. Third point, you said operational marine cover, loss of profit. I have not seen such a policy so far. Normally, it is operational policies carry only the fire business interruption. But if it is there, this also will be governed by the same principle, that the indemnity period will be taking into account the remanufacturing, the transit time, and erection time. So probably the lockdown will be carved out of that. So this is
Yes, sir.
This is-
Sir, my next question to you only, sir. Sir, see, many of the underwriters, they have issued CFS package policies with fire and burglary cover for the cargo. Now, they are receiving a lot of, queries for extension or increase in sum insured. Now the rates are low, risk is more. So how to deal with situations? Since you are from GI Council, I think we like to have your view on that, sir.
This is, of course, will be individual perception of the risk. But if CFS has been given a policy for fire and burglary, you mean it is a kind of transporters go down cover. It is not a insured marine insurance cover. So maybe they will be able to take a decision by talking to property underwriter and miscellaneous underwriter to see this. I am not sure how this will be in the package policy, how this will be covered under policy, except that you extend the duration or keep the cover on. That's all. Essentially, it is just a duration extension, nothing else.
Yes, sir. Sir, Bala sir, yeah. So Bala sir, now you sometime back you spoke about general average claims and you said, see, usually marine policies claims and marine policies are not so complicated. But if you talk about general average claims, of course, we don't have much of expertise. So could you please elaborate on general average claims reported in the recent days and what are the concerns observed by the insurers? And will the delay due to COVID affect general average, any type of general average claims?
Well, I'll try to briefly address what a general average is. A general average is peculiar to ocean transits under a marine policy. It says that in any voyage, there are different interests. One interest is the cargo interest, the other is the hull interest, the other is the freight, and other would be the bunkers. So typically, in case there is the entire voyage is endangered. First, there should be a danger to the voyage. And secondly, there should be an expense or sacrifice which is intentionally done or made. And it should be reasonable. And because of that, the voyage needs to be successful. The voyage should be completed successfully. If that happens, the expense and the sacrifice has to be borne in proportion by all the interests which have been saved. This is the concept of a general average. Very simple. In a COVID situation, still, I have not come across any general average being declared, but I don't know, there could be situations in the future. Let's say a vessel has a lot of cargo and some of the crew members, let us say, are going to be infected by COVID. This is all wild imagination. There could be possibilities of a general average. If the crew members are infected by COVID and let's say the cargo are edibles, some portion of the cargo is edibles, and it becomes necessary to throw that cargo into the sea, a jettisoning of that cargo, there could be a situation arising of general average. I can't visualize it, but whoever would have visualized that payment of ransom to pirates would come under general average. There was a lot of debate. First, people said it's illegal, it cannot be done, but it happens. So general average situation, so far it has not arisen. But what the point I made was that general averages, for any reason, putting out a fire in the vessel, a vessel's engines which have failed and use a tug to tow it to the nearest port, or a ransom to pirates, these happen more frequently now, primarily because the value of cargo on a vessel are more than the value of the vessel. So the vessel owner feels it is prudent to declare general average and make the cargo owners bear a portion of the loss. And the problem which underwriters face is general average is a basic peril under ICCC. So there is no way you can delete it. Secondly, it takes years for them to get settled. The average adjustment takes years. It's a very complicated process. Till such time, the underwriter carries the provision in his books, which sometimes hurts the performance. And as you would have seen, many a time the provisions get upgraded at the end of the year, which affects individual performance types. So general averages are quite complex, but in a COVID scenario, so far we have not seen any general average.
Okay, thank you, sir. My next question, sir, Sanjeev sir.
Yes,
can you just brief us little on maritime fraud, sir? or is there a possibility of having such frauds due to lockdown condition?
No, I don't see that. I don't see that, and maritime frauds have come down substantially. There was a time when maritime frauds happened, and that was a time in 70s or sometimes 80s stray cases. But after that, with the improved communication facilities, GPS, AIS, and all those things where the ships could be tracked, it was very difficult to have a staged marine claim by sinking a ship or something. Now, smaller frauds do happen, the shipping bills can be manipulated, or some other documents can be manipulated, or the bills or the this credits can be manipulated. So my point is that a large scale fraud which used to happen those days, the kind of fraud Salem was, and then there was another fraud of Avril and Odai, which I consider a very massive fraud where everything was fake, not only the cargo, but all the papers were bogus, and it was a deliberate scuttling of the vessel. So those kind of frauds do not happen anymore, but smaller frauds do happen, and they are detected in time. So lockdown may not cause fraud, except you perhaps want to indulge in arson or do a deliberate damage to a cargo to take a claim. But looks very difficult. Lockdown, I think it will be even safer as far as the food security and other things are concerned. Am I clear?
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Now, Bala, sir, one final question to you. Sir, can you just talk a little about the demurrage charges, rerouting charges, deviation charges, and any other additional expenses is incurred due to the lockdown condition or because of lack of workforce and other related issues in this pandemic? So can you just elaborate a little bit? People want to know about when it is payable, when it is not, and how much is payable.
See, demurrage charges, even if you have it covered under a marine cargo policy, is payable only when you are holding the goods there at the direction of the insurer. Suppose your goods are damaged and you inform the insurer, and it takes time to appoint a loss assessor, and the surveyor takes time to come, and for those period, if you are called upon to pay a demurrage, those demurrage charges are payable. That is what the demurrage charges clause also says. In no other circumstances a demurrage charge is payable to an insured, whether it is because of factors beyond his control, because of there not being any enough resources, whether in terms of human manpower or machine. No, it's not payable. Talking about deviations, yes, if the vessel owner is given the right to deviate to a nearest port or to any other port because of the circumstances, and if he does that, that is held covered. And forwarding charges from there to the final destination or whatever, if it is covered under the policy, the same would be payable. Having said that, it must also be noted that there is a specific provision in all policies which talk about a duty of assured clause. It is there in the ICC, it is there in ITC as well, a clause which people do not really invoke or really pay attention to. It says that if the insured incurs any additional expenses towards averting or minimizing a loss payable under the policy, the same will also be payable by the insurance company. So, for an instance, if I'll give you an example, if the goods are lying at the airport today or at the port, and it suddenly starts to rain, and the goods are lying in the open, you understand. So somehow the insured moves heaven and earth, gets permission, takes the cargo in a truck, but then it's a small truck, he cannot reach the final destination. He gets it stored at a smaller location, warehouse somewhere, and then carries it forward. I would think that in terms of the duty of assured clause, he has gone beyond his call of duty to protect the goods and also protect the insurer's interest. So these additional costs for the rent and for the tempo charges which he has incurred, charges he has incurred to avert or minimize the loss are payable under the policy, which many insurers might debate, argue it out, but I am of the very strong opinion that an action rightfully taken to avert a loss or to minimize a loss. But again, mind you, this should be a loss which is reimbursable under the policy. In the example I gave you, supposing it's a truck transit moving from say one place to another within India, and suddenly, and it's an ITC B cover, a basic cover only covering road accidents. Suddenly it starts raining and the insured says I need to put the cargo into a temporary warehouse to protect it from rainwater. I did it to protect the cargo. Unfortunately, the rental charges will not be reimbursable because that is not, rainwater is not a loss payable under an ITC B policy. Had it been an all-risk cover, I would go to the extent of saying during a lockdown, he can stick his neck out and seek a reimbursement of that.
Thank you, sir. I think this we are running short of time, and I thank Sanjeev sir and Bala sir for joining us in this webinar and giving us a detailed insight of what exactly is happening. And I also sincerely
before you
inconvenience caused because of.
Before you wind up, I just want to make one point.
Yes, sir.
Bala just said about the forwarding charges, all these things. I just want to tell your audience that on 17th April, another endorsement or another circular has been issued by Joint Cargo Committee, where they have, in terms of COVID, because we are discussing COVID today and its impact on marine. In terms of COVID, you can have a limited cover even if the even if the diversion or the expenses are caused by COVID, which is not covered in the policy. So you can have it as an add-on cover with sublimits. Now, not before it was, but now it is available.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
thank you for the information, sir. Yeah, thank you, sir. So with this, yeah, we come to an end of this webinar. Sanjeev sir, we are extremely thankful for coming. Bala sir, extremely thank you for coming and joining us for the webinar. And there was some inconvenience and disconnection from Sanjeev sir's end. We are sorry for that. And we got a lot of questions, sir, coming in. So what I'll do is I'll just collate all the questions, send it across to the speakers, and request you to give us reply so that I can post it to them, sir. And
sure.
Thank you very much, sir. I thank Director sir for all the encouragement. Thank you very much for coming all the way for giving this, joining us in this webinar, and thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Sorry for the connection from my side.
No, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.